And it's now time for us to take a look back at this week's headline-making stories in our Reporters Rewind. And we're joined by our hard-working correspondent dragging the show on his back today, Actor Khan, as well as Medgar Evers professor and great friend of Arise, Wallace Ford, and New York-based Republican strategist John Burnett. Welcome, all of you gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in. And are you all right, Actor? Do we need to give you a wet towel?
A bit later, maybe. A bit later.
Okay.
Let's get on with it.
All right. Two big stories. Well, a lot of big stories this week, but two that have dominated the headlines, of course, are politics, with three Republican presidential candidates joining the race. We're going to get to that in a segment. But, of course, also FIFA, with the U.S. Lodging charges of corruption and all manner of skullduggery from high-ranking FIFA officials, but not Sepp Blatter. So this is where I want to start. And, John, I think I'm going to start with you, if I can.
Sure.
Is it plausible that these 7 high-ranking officials were involved in all of this institutional corruption, if you will, and Sepp Blatter not be involved or know about it?
Well, in the corporate and private sector, I was always under the impression that corporate culture or culture in any organization starts at the top. So you have to start with the leadership.
What is it? What do you make of this, Wallace?
Well, I'm reminded of that classic movie Casablanca. And you remember the Claude Rains character, the inspector. He walks into this casino and says, "I'm shocked that there's gambling taking place," just as he takes the payoff, right? There's just no way that we're talking over $100 million over 20 years. It's as John was saying, it's a cultural thing, and it starts at the top. It stinks from the top all the way through. And the fact that Mr. Blatter was reelected just a couple of hours ago just tells you what we're dealing with in terms of FIFA. It's really an international criminal organization, it sounds like to me.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a harsh indictment.
That's a very harsh indictment. I mean, I was covering the story the other day, and I have to say, to his credit, he came out and he said, "I can't oversee everyone. I am the guy at the very top, but I can't foresee what's going to happen if people want to damage the organization. They will damage the organization." He's taken a bit of the responsibility, but I don't think he would have been brave enough to put himself up for re-election if he felt he was going to be indicted by the Department of Justice.
Well, here's two predictions. Number one, I do believe that he will be indicted at some point, but more importantly, it's about the advertisers. Okay, Coca-Cola, Nike, all the big names that we know about that are involved in sports, global sports advertising, they don't want to be involved with this kind of mess. Okay, so ultimately, if the dollars aren't there, FIFA isn't there, and they want the dollars, they're going to have to make a way. Blatter's going to have to go.
I hear you over here, John, trying to jump in.
Well, that's a very good point. I think this matter might have to be resolved by external stakeholders withdrawing their funds.
Market forces.
But isn't that a shame, though? The game isn't deciding who should stay and who should head up FIFA, but it's actually the advertisers. It's the money, once again, talking.
To quote one of my colleagues right here at Arise News, Julian Phillips, he always says it, when it's not about money, it's about the money. It's always about the money. It's going to be interesting, though, to see, because I don't know how he can be held pristine in the face of this long-term allegations of corruption.
We have something in this country called the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Okay, and so U.S. companies have to be very careful that their dollars aren't somehow involved in what looks like a very much a criminal racketeering enterprise. Right. And so they're going to walk. If there's not a change, they're going to walk. And then and we talk about, of course, whether or not money drives the game. We have game fixing going on all throughout Europe and other parts of this beautiful sport that we talk about has some real work to do.
Well, and to be fair, that's present in a lot of sports, and it's not just
not
soccer.
To this extent, there, Debbie.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Okay, we just have 4 minutes left, so I want to turn the corner and talk about politics. That is just getting bigger and bigger. We're still a long way off from the presidential election. However, 3 more candidates threw their hat into the ring for the Republican nomination for the presidential election in 2016. Gosh, where do I even start? I got to start with you.
Thank you. Well, I think throwing the hat into the ring is a very useful term because it's like a 3-ring circus. During the last election cycle in 2012, I referred to the Republican clown car because they just kept all these candidates just keeping. Now it's a clown bus, okay, and they're just coming out. And you've got what you're seeing, though, quite seriously, is the effect of the Citizens Union decision and Citizens United decision, excuse me, and the McCullough cases. Both both of those have now just allowed people to make unlimited contributions to presidential campaigns, and as a result, what you're saying is any billionaire or any hundred, somebody worth $500 million, I like you as a candidate, I'll give you $10 million. Let's see if it works out.
Here's what's interesting to me.
And now you're seeing, and the result of that, this country has more billionaires than any country in the world, is that we're seeing this proliferation of candidates, and I don't think anybody can suggest.
But the truth is, though, really, it comes down to the two that get the nomination of the major political parties, the Republican and Democratic nominees. However, right now on the Republican side, on the GOP side, there are already 8 candidates, and there are at least 3 that we believe are very likely.
3 to 5.
3 to 5 that they're going to jump in the ring. So now we're talking about a dozen or more candidates. Are they going to cancel themselves out? What do you think, Jim?
Well, first I'd like to say that this is the first time in history we've had such a diverse slate of candidates across various demographics. So I think we should embrace this diversity and leave it up to the primary voters to determine who will be the lone survivor.
What a very rosy, positive way to look at this.
What diversity are we talking about? We have tall white men, short white men.
Down boy.
And one woman, and one black person, and an Indian.
Okay.
One female executive, not just a woman, as well as
fired 30,000 people.
She actually had a track record where she doubled revenues, top-line revenues, and quadrupled cash flow results. Yeah. So let's not forget history.
Right.
But more importantly, not just a female executive, but we have a minority candidate who is a well-renowned neurosurgeon, as well as a slew of different candidates at the senator level, governor level. There's a huge diversity within the Republican platform right now, and I think it's up to the people, the primary voters, to make that determination, and not the political pundits.
I want to sneak a couple of things in before we run out of time. Go ahead,
I was going to say that I think people are missing the plot here. Surely the GOP have got to go back and find out who they are, because once again, those candidates coming to the fore are the same old candidates we see over and over again. The GOP have to go back, do their homework, and identify who they are exactly and who they're
I think
aiming
you put
for.
your finger on something, even though you're a Brit. It's very interesting as an observation, because I believe that is what has allowed so many candidates, because the Republican Party doesn't know who it wants to be when it
grows up.
grows
There's no identity there, which is why we're having all sorts of people throwing their hat into the ring. And
I think instead of the left, where they only have really one primary candidate in Hillary Clinton, who arguably is only a title holder and not someone with a wealth of experience. So I think there's a lot to be said on both sides. However, we must embrace the fact that there's more than one, and I think at the end of the process, we'll see who's the lone survivor and what they stand for. You just picked a
fight right there. I know you slid that in. Don't think it wasn't noticed, but another conversation we'll go back to that.
I was born in the People's Republic of Brooklyn. I can't help it.
You can. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Jeb Bush has had a slow and clumsy start. Jeb Bush, you're so funny. Well, that goes to my question. Do you think he'll actually will he survive this primary?
I don't know that the Bush name, the Bush brand, is going to carry in the Republican Party at this point. But again, I just go back to, we talked about it with FIFA, we talked about it, the dollars are what's driving this. I'm telling you that you would not see this, the number is not 12, by the way, it's really up at about in the 20s now of people who either announce or about to announce their candidacy for president. And that's only because there's money behind it.
Donald Trump has said he's going to make a huge announcement.
We can hardly wait.
We'll have to come back and talk about
My heart will have to be still on that one.
All right, we got to leave it right there for now, gentlemen. John Burnett, Wallace Ford, Actor Khan, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Go get yourself a drink of water, Actor.